Hello, 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 all viewers and listeners. Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode for the Pathways to the Ivies. We're finally beginning our fall 2026 cycle with a lot of kids joining us in on explaining their journey to get into the top schools across the United States of America and the rest of the world. And today, joining us is Advay, who is actually going to fall for this. I mean, who's going to Berkeley for this fall and will, or at least was going to study environmental science, but has now switched to physics very, very recently. Advai, welcome to the show. So
Thank you.
pleased to have you over. And first of all, tell me, how does it feel to get into Berkeley? Like, what is your reaction when you saw that admit letter and it said, Advai, you're in, like you made it to Berkeley?
Yeah, I was really, really excited and I wasn't expecting it at all. I think I had gotten into some nice unis before that, so I wasn't super stressed like some people I know were. But just like it was completely unexpected, and particularly Berkeley, there were some Ivies that I expected to get in over Berkeley, but like Berkeley, I was just not expecting. I love the campus, I love the place, and so it was very, very like I was very excited, and I was jumping, and it was crazy. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. And what are the other universities that you got into? I mean, now that you brought it up, it wasn't something I was planning to ask, but would give people reference in terms of,
Okay.
what was your perspective profile looking like?
I had got so before Berkeley, I had gotten into Georgetown for their environmental science program. I got into UCLA, Claremont McKenna, and then Imperial in the UK, but I didn't really want to go to the UK. It was more like a geographical, like backup kind of situation. So yeah, those were I think the top ones that I was sort of mulling over because I didn't expect anything on Ivy Day and Berkeley did. Like I expected that okay, I was very excited. I was probably going to go to UCLA. And then suddenly this happened and it was crazy. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Good to know. I mean, I'm so glad that Berkeley worked out for
Yeah.
EU. I love Berkeley personally. The vibe's fantastic. Food
Yes.
is really, really good at Berkeley, in the sense of the town of Berkeley. So big fan over
Yeah.
there. Been to several restaurants. I'll give you suggestions. But
Perfect.
let's kind of get to where you are currently and discuss a little bit about your profile. So you're
Sure.
from Calcutta International School,
Yeah.
which is where you work currently, and you have studied IBDP at grade 11 and grade 12, and then your
Yep.
grade 9 and grade 10 was IGCSE.
Correct.
Would you briefly tell us about what your grade subjects were to study environmental science, and what was your predicted looking like? I mean, I know you're not supposed to know your predicted, but a lump sum idea of what
Yeah.
it was.
Right. Yeah. So in IB, I studied. I had four HLs. So I had physics, chemistry, math, and English HL, math AA HL. And then I had history SL and Spanish B SL. Um, One, I guess, notable thing is the fact that I didn't have environmental science, even though that's what I got in for. And I think what happened with that was that I think environmental science was clashing with the chemistry band or something like that. And I assumed that chemistry is far more important, just as a fundamental science. And so I just took the AP environmental science class in like grade 11. Like, as in, I just gave the exam. I don't think, like, it's a very easy AP, and I think everyone should, like, just do it. It's like a free 4 or 5, and then I got a 5 in that. So I think that worked. I think that probably helped me get into environmental science.
Got it, got it. That's good to know. Any
Yeah.
particular reason you took the four HLs? Usually, not many people I know have heard of
Yeah,
it.
I think I initially took it because I wanted the challenge. And because all the classes like just seemed interesting enough where I wanted to do them at like a complete level. I think at an SL level you kind of compromise on what you get to learn. And the plan was always to start with four and then maybe at the start of grade 12 or at some point sort of cut one down to three. But I just loved all my HLs. Like English HL was the one I was planning to drop down to in SL, but I loved my English HL class. And just, it was like, it was just not worth stopping doing it. And then after the predicteds, I just thought, since I've reached this far, I might as well go and give the entire IBDB with it. And so I ended up giving my board exams with four HLs. And I personally, again, people will have different opinions, and it does depend on the subjects you have. But I don't think it was all that different, personally. Um, but yeah,
What was he predicted, if you know, like, out of, I mean, now
I
it's going to
think
be
it would
but
be around like it was definitely not very high. Because I did get the papers back, right? Like I could see the marks that I got. I think it was like 40 or 41, like not very high at all. Particularly for I think the kind of place I got in. One thing that probably helped was I'm not sure if this is true, but as far as I remember, Berkeley doesn't look at predicted grades exactly. Other colleges do on the Common App and stuff, but Berkeley particularly does not because it has its own, like the UCs have their own application, right? And so they did see my midterm grades, which is the same thing. And so it probably had an impact, but not the impact that a predicted grade would have, I would guess. Yeah.
correct. Okay, sounds good. It kind of makes sense. Perfect. So good to know. I just want to kind of, even this is just for me, more out of curiosity.
Yeah.
Usually people have six HL and six, sorry, three HLs and three
Yeah.
SLs,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you had four HLs. How does the predicted over their work? Is it
It's
still
the
out of
same. So it's
45?
out of 45, it's the same thing because they're all out of 7 and then TOK, like core is still out of 3. So I guess it's a little bit tougher, like grading wise, but it's still, you're still scored out of 45. You still
Do you
try to
take
get
the
as high.
higher of the four, or how does
No,
that work?
no,
Like, does
it's
it
the same
just
thing, right? I mean, if even if you had 3 and 3, it would still amount to 42. Like all of them are marked out of 7, right? As in your grade out of 7. So the grade does not change at all. The difficulty change, like the rigor changes, but the grading system doesn't change at all. Just the like grade boundaries and stuff will change.
got it. Got it. Understood. Makes sense. Okay. This is good information. Good to know if somebody wants to take an HL, it doesn't change. So
Yeah,
good to know. Let's look at the standardized testing. Well, you got a 36 on 36 on the ACT. And of course, your advanced placement in environmental science was a 5 on 5. What's your general opinion on standardized testing? Should somebody do it, not do it? Since a lot of universities are test optional, definitely not
yeah,
the top ones, but
hmm
Berkeley was test blind. So what's your
yeah.
take on it?
Yeah, actually, that was funny that I ended up going to a place was test blind, but no, I think definitely do it. I think there's zero argument for not doing it because in fact, most of the places that were test optional or test flexible like Yale and stuff, as far as I know, this year they have their testing back, SATs and ACTs, right? So I think it's more important than ever. I think this was just a COVID thing that went on too long, and eventually, like you have to give your test, particularly as an international. If this is like an Indian audience that watches this, particularly as an international, you already have a higher bar to sort of maintain. And so definitely do well on the standardized tests, particularly for the top universities. Um, and yeah, no, if your question was whether or not to do it, I think definitely do it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Why did you veer towards the ACT? As much as I know, a lot of people actually want to do the SAT over the
Ye-
ACT. How did
Yeah.
you kind of why ACT?
So, I don't understand this actually. Like, there were people who I know who were applying to the US who didn't even know what the ACT was. I think that's a big missed opportunity because I think both are completely accepted. And as far as I've researched this quite a bit, there is zero preference for either side. And so and that was the only thing I was worried about. And so what I would say is just take like a blind, like a baseline sort of test for both, and then whichever one you kind of perform better in, you just practice that, right? So like I did a random like blind, like without studying for anything, I just did a like blank SAT test full length and a complete ACT test full length, and I did significantly better on the ACT, and so I just chose to do it because like if you start higher, obviously with practice, you can do better. And what I feel is that the ACT is a lot more trainable, because the ACT questions are objectively easier, and I've spoken to like a lot of people about this. The ACT questions are objectively easier. ACT time management is objectively more difficult. Um, and so as long as you can sort of control your time and keep up with the pace of the ACT, um, I would personally recommend it really highly. I don't know too many people who did the ACT and didn't score really well. Like in my school, everyone that's done it in the last two batches plus mine has done like very well actually. So
So
um,
I think
yeah,
I'd like to just rephrase your recommendation. Test on the SAT, test on the ACT, like a diagnostic test.
correct,
See where
exactly,
you are doing better and just go ahead
correct.
and do that test, rather than saying only the SAT is good or only the ACT is good.
Yeah, 100%. And what I
ACT,
would, yeah, sorry. And what I
yeah,
would
the
also
ACT.
add is do look at the reading score you get on the ACT particularly. That's one piece of experience I can definitely give, because the reading one is like I would argue that particularly for an international student, reading is a relatively difficult component, because it's really quick and you need to like answer questions really really fast and scan for information really fast. And so if you can keep up with the pace of the reading in your diagnostic, even if you leave the last 2 or 3 questions, like if you can do whatever, like 37 out of the 40 questions or 35 plus, then you should go for it. If not, then it's going to be very difficult to increase your pace that much. So that's something I would point out.
Got it. So if you are somebody who finds themselves challenged with pace, then ACT is
Mm.
possibly not your test. If you are
Yeah, yeah,
somebody who, yeah, and if you're somebody
yeah.
who's like
And if you think
okay
you
with,
won't be able to make it up with
yeah,
practice, yeah.
then SAT.
Also,
Fair
I
enough.
think the ACT's changed since I gave it. I think science is now optional. So people who didn't want to give it because of the science now have another way around it, I guess.
Correct. But I think optional is no more optional. It's always recommended you take the science. The only thing is the
Right.
composite score now does not comprise of science. So you
Interesting. I
could be
didn't.
doing excellently well in science, but unfortunately that doesn't come as a part of your composite score. But you still have to
Oh,
take the science, or at least
I didn't know that.
most folks would refer that you take the science, as there's no clarity from the colleges if a test without science will be
Yeah.
considered,
Yeah.
not considered, etc. So good to know. That's that. Perfect. Good to know. And let's go it on with your next part, which is something that I really want to explore, which is your research paper. You
Yeah.
conducted an urban heat effect, effect in Kolkata under the mentorship of Professor Vivek Agarwal. Can you talk a little bit more about it? How did you get through this research internship? What did you do as a part of it?
Okay, so my research was on the urban heat island effect in my city, like you said. And so that's basically to do with how I mean, oversimplified, it's basically about how urban areas, like built up areas, so basically places with concrete floors, again, oversimplified, are significantly hotter due to heat absorption and like human activity and stuff like that. um, Significantly hotter than rural areas. So, like in Mumbai, for example, it's one of the best examples of this. I read some news article where it was 7 degrees hotter in like central Mumbai, or some similar number, like 5 to 8 degrees hotter in central Mumbai than a rural area, like on the outskirts, sort of. And it should be the same because you're getting the same sunlight. It's sort of the same, like what do you call it, altitude and stuff. And so it should be the same, but whatever, human activity makes it hotter. And so my paper basically analyzed the increase in urban heat island effect in my city in Calcutta over the last 2 decades. And it used like basic. The cool part was that it used like actual satellite data from NASA and stuff. And I used Google Earth Engine to sort of synthesize it and do the data analysis and create actual heat maps over the last 2 years, sorry, 20 years, over like using different like indices. So like there was like a vegetation index, and then there was like a land surface temperature index. So whatever it was, so it was very quantitative, which I really enjoyed. And then eventually I synthesized that data. I proved the sort of trajectory that urban heat is taking, and then I proposed very specific, like regionally targeted solutions for the local government, and
Perfect.
published it. So that was really fun.
Awesome. I have a quick question.
Yeah,
So, a lot of people have published research, which I'm not
yeah,
against, but yours comes across as if you found the professor by yourself to kind of research with.
yeah.
If let's say there is a student like you who wants to is very passionate about something, how can he or she go about finding people who can help them research rather than using expensive options, or using the expensive options are also fine.
Yeah,
The
I
gist
think so.
is
I
in
know
order to do
people
that.
who've done the expensive options and they're not bad at all. I mean, like
Oh, they're
ultimately you're
great.
publishing a paper that you're passionate about with the person who's passionate about the subject. So I think whatever, like I think when you're paying, you're not paying for your paper to get done. You're paying for the access to that person, that Harvard professor or that Stanford PhD who's going to help you, right? I didn't have that. I had a professor at a less known university, but ultimately it's still a person who had great expertise on the topic, and who really, really helped me. And I think ultimately, when you're writing research as a high schooler, people realize that ultimately you're a high schooler, right? And so there's so much that you can do. And I think what's more valuable is how you take help. I know people are like, I mean, I can imagine people could also take help in one way where you get it written, sort of, right? And that's obviously possible. But then you don't learn anything. And I feel like part of writing a research paper is wanting to learn it. Learn that topic that you're super interested in. But then also, you have nothing really to sort of personally, like, you have no personal engagement. And down the road, like when you're maybe making videos for like competition submissions, or when you're writing that essay around your research, like it shows that you aren't fully really involved in it. So I would say do as much as you can, and then get external help where sort of technologically you can't, or the math is difficult for you. So for me, for example, like I coded for Google Earth Engine for the first time myself. I wrote the entire paper, and what I took help in was I didn't know how to like code using R, which is like the data analysis software. I didn't know how to use R at the time, so the professor helped me with writing. Like he wrote the R code for me, and he sort of helped me create a graph that showed the progression, because I didn't know how to do that. Because it was like kind of advanced R, and I didn't know how to do that. And then he helped me come up with a methodology, but that's through our conversation as well. He didn't come up with the methodology himself. He didn't write my introduction. He didn't write my research. So it's my research. I feel ownership. It kind of makes you proud also. Like I feel like if you get it completely outsourced, you aren't proud of what you did. So then what's the point?
Of course. But bringing back my original question is, if you were to not use, resources which are paid
Yeah,
or
you can
whatever.
just cold outreach. So you can, whether through LinkedIn or through your personal network. I mean, there were a bunch of people in my high school, for example, had some connection to local universities, whether their parents were professors, or like alumni who could sort of access professors. And so a lot of people in my school did very hands-on sort of lab research with local professors, because I mean, I feel like everyone has that local network if you try hard enough. Um,
Got it. Got it. So
yeah.
you can just do cold outreach and it's
So
still
yeah, so
possible.
either cold emails or LinkedIn or your personal network in your city. Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. So good to know. A lot of people just come back and say, hey, we can't do this, we can't do this. I just tell them you can do as much as you want to, do, and you're kind
Yeah.
of good to go.
You
So
can. I
good.
will say that I think maybe sometimes what I've seen is that the paid options will also, I mean, they spend like their time is more dedicated to you because they're getting paid for it. So they value that time with you. Um, or like, they're sort of giving value versus someone who is just helping you out. There's no incentive. So like, if they want to help, they'll help. And if they don't, they'll just ghost you. So that's possible as well. So there's arguments for both sides, but I feel like there is like, I reject the idea that you can't do this without paying, for sure.
Absolutely. Fair enough. Makes sense. Coming back to the most important one and your leadership experience, which I'm in absolute awe of, your particip plan, your project. Can you
Yeah.
talk a little bit more about it? What did you do? What was the idea? What did it lead into? All the good stuff.
Perfect. And what it led into was actually my favorite part. Yeah. So the idea was, so okay. So it started. So I had gone to conduct like an AI session for like a local school. So it was like 5 minutes away from my school. And it was like an NGO run sort of a neighborhood, I guess. People, not exactly a slum, but definitely suburban. And I was just doing like a basic AI for education kind of workshop with them, with the teachers there. um and I was talking to them, and we realized that school had smart boards. Okay, like it's an NGO school, and they had smart boards. And that's great, and that's like I loved that. But my question was, like, I just crossed like an overflowing like water pump thing to get here. There's clearly major infrastructural issues like in this like sort of area. um is giving that school a smart board the best allocation of resources, right? And so I was speaking to some of the teachers there, and they said that no, you're completely right. The school's doing really, really well. and the NGO has funding, but the NGO doesn't know where to sort of give that funding because they don't have the information. They don't have the data, right? And so that kind of led to Participlan, which was basically a project where I worked with a bunch of the local teachers because also they have like a local dialect and stuff, which I didn't speak of Bengali. Um, and so we got a bunch of the local teachers together. We made a Google form, and then we pretty much, it was actually really simple. We gave them all the Google form, and they went house to house, and there was like 15 of them, and there were about 100 families. So it's not incredibly difficult per person, but it's a massive impact that we ended up having. 100 plus families, I think 400 plus people were interviewed. And then it was across all kinds of issues. So like sanitation, healthcare, education, uh, energy reliability, women empowerment, security. So like any issue you can imagine, it was like a mini census, and then eventually again I used R and we sort of analyzed that data and realized that we thought education was a major issue. We thought that food security was a major issue, but those were actually the two in the bottom five issues. And the number two issue I think that none of us expected was sanitation. There was this one place where I think like four families, so like 16 people were sharing one washroom, like one toilet.
Oh,
It was horrible, right? And it's a problem we didn't know existed, and we had the funds. These like this NGO gets CSR funding, but we didn't know this issue existed. So it was like that was really exciting, where you kind of we collected data, we wrote a white paper with that data outlining what can be done, and then we used CSR funding to actually implement it. Um, if you I actually have photos. We just installed the toilets fully, like they're fully functional, about a month ago.
oh
And it
wow.
was really exciting, and we tried to make it sustainable as well. So we found this company that makes sustainable, like sort of portable toilets. So they set up the toilet there, and they have like a gel or some kind of liquid, which is like it has some biotic component, where after sort of using the washroom, you pour that biotic component and it decomposes. So it reduces the smell and the hygiene issues. And B, eventually, when the tank sort of fills up, you can actually open it and use it as compost for your field.
Oh, okay.
Because it was a majorly like sort of agricultural area, and so it's completely sustainable for them to run themselves, and it helps them.
Got it.
Um,
Got
and
it.
so that was really exciting to sort of come up with a solution for a problem no one knew existed. And where Participlan is going now is that, and sorry for going on about this, but I'm very
Of course,
excited about.
please.
Yeah. So where Participlan is going now, and I'm very excited about it, is that we realized that this was very simple to do, but it took way too long. It took over a year to do all of this because permissions and municipal stuff and communities, like who is going to take care of the toilets and all of that, where to place them, all of that took a lot of time. Um, and I realized some parts humans have to do, the kind of the communication stuff and all of that, but some stuff I shouldn't have had to do. With AI existing, I shouldn't have had to spend time on data analysis. I shouldn't have had to spend time writing a white paper. I shouldn't have had to spend time collecting data. The entire survey process took multiple 2 weeks, I think, right? I shouldn't have had to spend time doing any of that. And so now we're building a web app, me and a friend of mine from school. We're building a web app where anyone in the world can use this. It's a software, so it's like like software service tool for NGOs particularly. And you can actually, it's called participlan.org. You can check out the website. And what it does is basically you can create surveys directly on it. You can administer surveys through it, so through a QR code. And what's different between like what we do in Google Forms is that we don't require internet access. So you need internet access to first load the survey, but then without Wi-Fi for remote areas, you can continue to administer the survey, which makes a lot of sense for NGOs. And then as you complete the survey, it automatically analyzes everything. It automatically writes a white paper. It automatically ranks the issues. It automatically creates solutions for you. And you press a button and you can send an email to CSR partners for funding.
Oh, wow.
And
That
so,
is
so that
really
entire
good.
stack of issues that every NGO has to deal with, I kind of wanted to just eliminate it because it's useless. NGOs are already so underfunded and so understaffed, and it's just stupid that they have to sit and do all of this while actually trying to create change. So we're trying to solve that, and we're implementing this with the NGO that I worked with for Participant. And we're doing that in the next couple of weeks. Like it's starting now. Like it started. So I'm very excited about where this is going. Yeah.
That's really, really cool stuff. And I'm so glad that, you thought this through and you wanted to make this like, your contribute to this important change. Do you think you should be able to kind of extend this to other NGOs?
Oh,
Not
100%.
necessarily
That's the
in your
plan. This can
department.
extend to other NGOs now, but we want to be deliberate and slow with it because it's a newly coded software. So I don't want to just give it to NGOs and spoil their entire system. Um, so I want to start with one, debug everything, find all the issues that we can find, build more valuable features that I didn't think of, but that they could think of. So like already like one of the NGO heads keeps messaging me, wait, can we add this to the app and can we add that to the app? And we do it. So like I want to take it slow, but yeah, 100%. The idea is that by the end of the year I want to have at least 10 NGOs using it for sure.
Correct, correct. Absolutely. That's good to know, and that will really kind of solve a lot of issues,
I
right?
hope it
So
just speeds them up, yeah.
I'm so
Yeah.
glad that it's I mean something like this has come up and it's just amazing, so that's good to know. And the work that you're doing is phenomenal. So I hope more people kind of take the baton forward. Are you handing this down to another kid once you're off to
No, I'm
Berkeley?
building this right now with with a kid who's in my batch. So ultimately, we'll both go to college. And when in college, I think obviously this won't work full time because also you need to be in Calcutta or near local NGOs to be able to work with it. And so the plan is to sort of look at local NGOs in Berkeley that could use it. And second is maybe have one or two juniors of mine or one or two like sort of 11th or 12th graders who want to help take this forward, and 100% that could work.
Yeah, because I mean that would be great, right? Like once you're off the ground from this, if there's somebody who's as passionate about this project as you are, it would be great for them to, nurture this and take this to the next level, irrespective of
In
whatever
fact,
college they are
probably
in.
if like anyone who's seeing this also wants to help, like they could 100% like reach out. So like, I
Perfect.
mean, yeah,
Awesome to know. Awesome to know. I mean, I have a lot of students who keep on asking, so happy to send a
100%.
couple of students your way, especially
That'd be
with
great.
coding. Is that the help you
Yeah, I mean,
require?
yeah,
Or
that's part of it. So yeah, for sure.
Okay, perfect. So good to know that. I also want to take some time to talk about your MUNs, right?
Mhm.
That you've done, and I see a lot of MUNs that you've done here, which is intra MUN and CIS and all of that. One of the most common questions I kind of get asked is
Yeah.
how important is MUN? Do you think it contributes to getting into any kind of school, or does it benefit in the application project or process? I wanted to understand your process basis, your experience, and what do you think about it, your thoughts on it.
So what I'll say is from my school, everyone else that got into great universities did not have MUN. So do you need MUN to go to a great university? Absolutely not. And as I haven't done a lot actually. I've done maybe max like as a delegate like somewhere less than 10, around 10 or less, and then as a chair I've done a couple, and in the executive like I've chaired and like led MUNs very actively even at HMAN for example, but not necessarily as a delegate, because I also agree that they are like there's a lot of people that say, and I do agree that they are wastes of time sometimes. They take, I mean, depending on what kind of person you are, I stopped researching a while back. But some people spend a week researching and then 3 days of committee where your entire day is taken up. It's a lot of time, particularly for students in grades 11 and 12 or grade 10 near your board exams. Like, why would you want to give away your time like that? So I completely get the argument against Model UN. I think where it helps is it shows that you're sort of globally um, cultured, if that's the right word. Like it shows your sort of global awareness and your willingness to deal with global issues, which colleges always, in my opinion, love. Again, obviously, it depends on what you want to do. So, like, if you're like an electrical engineering and computer science applicant, or like a physics applicant, or like something, or like a like medicine applicant, like, does is MUN really necessary? No. And I would definitely recommend it more for the more political science or international relations or law kind of applicants because it's more directly related to what you're doing. Um, But I think it teaches you a lot. It taught me a lot to do with communication, with leadership, and all of that, and that did compound. I mean, I started in Model UN in like grade 7, and then through the speech, like the sort of public speaking aspect of it, and the leadership aspect of it, and the critical thinking aspect of it, I think I grew as a person, and I think that's what led to a lot of the other stuff that I ended up doing, that is not at all related to MUN. So I think as a skill, it's really important. All the relevant skills that Model UN teaches you altogether. So if you don't want to do Model UN, find some way to learn these skills. These are very important skills. Um, but yeah, I don't think Model UN is at all like the sort of holy grail for college admissions, like at all. Yeah.
Good. So, I mean, if you want to develop those skills, yes, but doing a lot of MUNs is not sure
Yeah, I know
that you
people
will
who
be happy with your choice.
I'm not even joking. I have chaired someone who, in their experience, I don't believe this at all, but in their experience, wrote, I have done 120 MUNs. Like, there are people like that. People have done 30, 40, 50. That's very normal in Delhi and Calcutta. Um, and what I would say is don't do that for sure. That's the one thing I will objectively say don't do. Because colleges don't care whether you have done 5 or 30. And trust me, because MUN was like the third or fourth activity on my college application. I've done 10. Do a couple, win awards, that's more important, and show leadership. So again, I was secretary general of my school's Model UN. I think someone who's sec gen and has done 3 MUNs is more valuable than someone who's never chaired a committee and done 30. Again, this is my view, but I think show leadership in what you do and show impact. Like, the number of what you do does not matter, at least with this.
Got it. Got it. Fair enough. Makes sense. And good to know. I'm so glad you threw some clarity
Yeah,
on it. The leadership part is more important. Can you
yeah.
talk a little bit more about your Yale summer session also? I understand it's different from a YYGS, which is a Yale
It's very different from
course.
YYGS. So YYGS is basically it's a student, like it's a high school program. So I
Mhm.
would argue maybe YYGS is more selective than what I did. I'm not sure. I think so because I mean it's very famous. Um, but YYGS is on campus as far as I know, and it is with other high schoolers. So you have a college professor teaching high schoolers, and you get like a pre-college, like it's a pre-college program, right? So it's at a high school level, the program, as far as I know from friends who've done it. Um, what I did was Yale summer session. So all colleges, most colleges, have like their normal fall and spring session, or like right. So and then they have a summer session where existing students at the college can take extra classes or maybe pick up a minor. So like Berkeley has a summer session where you can pick up a minor or take some extra classes to earn your credit if you want to stay sort of in the US. So Yale similarly has a summer session where they have some offline classes on campus and some online ones. And what I did was I just applied, and Yale has this. A lot of colleges don't. I just applied to sort of join one of Yale's existing summer session classes, which meant that yes, I had to have like a calculus level understanding of math and stuff like that, which I did because math AHL. But my class was basically me plus, like I was the only high schooler, and then there was just Yale undergrad and grad students. There were even
Got it.
like grad school students who were doing like health, like medicine and stuff. And so it's basically a professor in a very tight knit class, and you do something that earns you Yale credit. So what I sent an email as well to college right now where I'm trying to see if that can transfer to Berkeley credit. Just because then I'll have to take one less class, or I can take one more elective, so that would be nice. Um, but yeah, so that's the idea. So it's a summer session for Yale undergrad and grad students that I got to take a class in.
Perfect. And a summer school is not the same as summer,
No
like a summer
session.
program.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, it's not the same.
good. And is it how do you go about applying for a
Yale,
summer
so it's online. I mean, they're actually their website's great. You can just go to their website, and I think you just apply and you need to write it. I had to write like I think an essay or two, and then
Mhm.
yeah, and I had to prove like I had to prove that I had like a calculus level of math, which my math teacher attested to because I had done calculus and math AHL before that. And then yeah, and then they accepted, like they let me do it, and then yeah. But one other thing is, please look at time difference. So like I did, it's not like I went in blind, but my class was at 4:30 a.m. IST. So I would do that summer session class because of the time difference, and then go to school. So like it was a bit rough for a bit, but it was really nice. The class was really fun.
Got it, got it. Good to know. Another thing that I wanted to kind of bring up is all the Olympiads that you've done: CIS, CEMC, AMC, SOF, a lot of math Olympiads. And I've seen this very consistently in a lot of profiles of
Hmm.
people who actually make it to good schools. Your take on that for general students?
I think they're very important. I think I underutilize them. Uh, yeah. So you said that I've done a lot. I really don't think so. I've done like three or whatever, and not placed very. Like I got distinction in one, I think, but like other than that, I'm mostly a participant. I've very consistently seen people who've done really well in math Olympiads, particularly like the global international ones, like the IMO or the I forgot the Singapore, like the Southeast Asian one, CIASMO or something like that. In a bunch of these really well known Olympiads, if you do well and place well, and particularly I think if you get invited to the invitational ones, it's a massive boost to your application because it shows them that particularly for STEM applicants, not only are you good at math at like your high school level, which they don't know, colleges don't know, but even when you're competing with the best math students in your country or your region or the world, you're sort of placing at a certain level, and that makes them very confident when accepting you. Again, particularly for international students, the US does not know about your curriculum and the rigor of your school. And so this is how you kind of prove that wait, I'm really good at math, and MIT, you need to take me, right? Particularly actually for these very heavy tech schools, so places like MIT, Caltech, Georgia Tech. Yeah, generally I think Olympiads really help.
Good to know. And again, for everybody who's listening and viewing this, Olympiads is one way to actually merit. I mean, establish academic merit, right?
Correct.
Irrespective of the curriculum place that you're based out of. If you can make it there, make it to their top, that's nothing like it. What happens if you can't? Like, as you said, you were not one of the top rankers. Do you think that works in your favor, against it? How is it viewed
I
by
don't think it
the
does anything.
professors?
I think, I mean, so I only put places like in my application, I only put the ones where I placed. So I put the distinction and I put the IMO and the Science Olympiad wins. Like as in the SOF IMO, not the actual IMO. Um, and I think it does. So I think wins definitely help because they establish credibility. And if you don't do super well, it's fine. I mean, just don't put it on your application. It doesn't take too much time. Some people spend a lot of time preparing for Olympiads, and I think that's a good idea if you sort of get that return on that. But I would say even if like you don't want to spend too much effort, I completely get it. I think just give the Olympiad, and it's going to take like 2 hours out of your Sunday. Um, I don't think people are doing stuff that's much better on a Sunday. So you just do it, and if you place, great. It'll really help your application. If you don't place, it won't do anything negative. So there's no argument for not doing it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Last two, three questions. Number one is, what about the essay competitions? Do you think those are important? I see quite a few you've done, four to be very precise.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe. Yeah. So I really enjoy like I enjoy writing. And I enjoyed the essay competitions far more than Olympiads for sure. Um, just yeah. So I think definitely do essay competitions again, particularly coming from India. They want to see that you're good at English, and they want to see that you're good at communicating. Particularly for people who want to go to liberal arts schools and study non-STEM. Uh, I think essay competitions really help proving that you can communicate well, especially the really competitive ones. So stuff like what's that one called? Um, I think the Harvard Crimson runs one, which is really good. And then there was one named after a philosopher that I forgot, but like it was a very famous one. Um, and then there's the Amos essay competition, which is like again global and great. Just do some international ones, and yeah, I think it helps show that you can communicate yourself, and yeah, I think that's the main sort of use. John Locke, right? The essay competition.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
One last again. So this is, I think, good to know. Another question I want to talk about is the essays. How important do you think are essays? I mean, I know a lot of people use AI to brainstorm, and that's okay. But what do you think is the role of essays after creating all the stellar profile? How important do you think it is to write good essays or like decently good essays to represent you in the correct light?
Um, I think essays are transformational, and I think when I applied again, I didn't spend enough time on it. I started my essays after I came back from like a summer vacation, and I started relatively later. I finished my common app, kind of late, and then I got to like I went through a couple of drafts, but I'm also like very very sort of picky about what I write. So sometimes I can write and sometimes I can't, and everyone's like that to some extent. So start early. Um, I would say essays are really make or break. I've had friends who didn't have, again, as far as I know, very, very stellar profiles, but their essays were like fantastic. Like really, really good essays, and they got into like crazy universities with scholarship and all of that. Essays like your stats and your EC show them sort of the kind of achiever you are, right? But essays will show them the person you are, and the US universities in particular, sort of pick up people. They don't pick up like stat sheets, right? Ultimately, they're admitting an international person um, to sort of attend the university, and so they want to make sure that that person is in line with the university's values, right? So like the person's humble and curious and all of that. And I think yeah, the essays can really show your curiosity and can really show you in like a very different light. You can be very creative with it. And I think a bad essay, like I think no essay is like really bad. I think if you spend enough time on it, and like okay essays won't really hurt your application as far as I know, except at obviously really top places where you have to be perfect throughout to get in. But really good essays can literally take like a mid-level student or a mid-level application to a really top university, and I've seen this very consistently. Like the essays have the potential to transform where you go to college, pretty much.
Perfect. That's good to know. Just also wanted to now
Yeah.
check last one or two things. So any no-goes on the application, things that you would want your juniors to know. This is absolutely something that you should be cautious about. Like, I mean, mistakes that you did, things that you learned from your experience.
Okay. I think prioritize. I did a lot of things throughout high school, and I thought I could continue doing a lot of things in grade 12. And you really can't because it's very different, very difficult. There's a lot that you're balancing. And stress makes you slower to some extent. So not only are you balancing more stuff, but also you're not as good at it, if that makes sense. So definitely start your essays and stuff earlier, so that you're not stressing with it last minute. And you have enough time to completely scrap your idea like 2 or 3 times, and that's also fine. I mean, I didn't have the time to do that, so that's a big mistake that I made because there's some essays where I made and I submitted, and in 1 or 2 cases even gotten to the university, but a lot of times I felt like I could have written this so much better, or I had ideas after I submitted, and I feel like if you give yourself enough time beforehand, you won't have that as much. So definitely start your essays earlier. Second is don't try to do everything; it doesn't really help. Try to create a very sort of established narrative of who you are and who you're presenting yourself as. Be confident in that. um and yeah, I think that would really help. So again, I know people who were like juggling a lot of stuff but didn't have like a clear sort of through line. Definitely had have one. I also know people who over specialized, people who wanted to study biology, and so everything they did in the world was biology. I mean, their common app was biology, and their essays were biology, and their activities were biology, and that makes you seem like a one-dimensional person, which a US college does not want. For the UK, that might help actually, because they're admitting you for the course. And that's a separate, I feel like, conversation. But yeah, I feel like definitely have a mix of having a clear, I hate the word spike, but having a clear sort of through line or narrative for yourself. But mix that with sort of quirky things or different things that make you unique as a person. Otherwise, every biology applicant is the same. And second, start in advance. I think everything you want to do, like do it 15 days before you want to do it. Um, it'll just help you in the long run. And apply for these super competitive things even if you don't think you'll get it. Whether it's like, I don't know, like a Harvard Man assistant director position or a crazy essay competition or an Olympiad or a crazy internship. I don't know. Just do it because If you do it like enough times, you'll get into one of them, and it can transform your application. So yeah.
Got it. Got it. Good to know. Good to know about that. Any other last piece of advice for people who are applying this fall,
This
or yeah, I mean the
I
following
think, yeah,
fall,
with AI, I
wherever.
will talk about AI really quickly. AI makes it very difficult to be creative. Because it's right there, because it's too accessible, and you think you can be creative while in conversation with AI. But I think the definition of creativity is, particularly when you're trying to express yourself, is to actually sit with yourself and talk to yourself and journal. Like I didn't, again, this is something I struggled with. I have very big attention issues and focus issues, and so this is definitely tough. But sit with yourself, understand what you're looking for, understand the kind of person you are, and only after you do that, like, or especially after you do that, will you be able to sort of present yourself in that kind of way. With AI, even if you don't use it a lot, people's essays start sounding very similar. I thought I was giving great prompts and sort of, being very unique and still using AI. But when my friends and I sort of saw each other's essays after, like at a point, obviously before submitting, we realized that they're very similar. And it's because AI is very one dimensional and it can't be creative. Not yet. Um, so yeah, just sit with yourself and do it yourself and use AI very limited, if at all. Yeah.
Absolutely. Also, like, AI is all about prompting, right? So if you're going to use the same prompt, I
No,
don't
but
think
that's what
there
I'm
is a
saying. I think
creative
that's also
thought.
the issue. Like, everyone's a great prompt engineer, particularly my generation now, particularly the generation that's going to apply now. They're great prompt engineers. I know that for a fact. But just telling it to be very creative and scrap the first 100 ideas and make no mistakes will not change the fact that it's a language model made to predict the next best word, and the next best word in every college essay will be very similar, and the way it writes stuff will be similar no matter how much the content changes. um, and even if admissions officers are reading different content in like consecutive essays, if the tone and the sort of diction and the structure is very monotonous, why would they want to read it, right? So just
Absolutely.
be as
No, fair
like,
enough. Make
I feel like as a writer, like, employ all of these things, employ the structure, employ like be creative with everything, not just the content of your essay, right? The structure of your essay, the words you use, the style you use, the tone you use, like all of the things you learn in English class, like employ them. Just changing the content and using a basic AI boilerplate will not help, in my opinion.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Fair enough. I think this is great. I got a lot of insights from
Yeah.
you and I was able to kind of get through it. So I think I'm going to wrap it up
Yeah.
here. Advai, thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you.
I truly
Thank you for
appreciate
having me.
it. Thank you again for being a sport and doing it
Yeah.
again. I had a great
Yeah.
time, doing this. And all the viewers and listeners, this is Rima signing off. But before I do so, Advai, any last words? Do you want to
I think, yeah,
tell
no,
the
for
viewers
everyone
this?
applying, best of luck, and yeah, just take all the help you want and be stress free and enjoy your application process because you get to discover yourself through it. So yeah, thank you again for listening, I guess. Yeah.
Absolutely. No problem. Advai, once again, all the very, very best. I hope you do well in your life. I hope to see you at Berkeley when you're
Yes.
here. And guys, if you need anything, he's always eager to contact. You can, once this goes out on YouTube, which I think is going to be sometime next week, you can always write below. I will be sharing this in different mediums, and I think it's going to be great. So, for the rest of you, from whichever part of the world you're tuning in or watching this video, all the very best for your applications. See you in yet another episode of Pathways at the Ivy with another candidate, another person talking about their profile and talking about all the good stuff that they've done. See you soon.